Hello and welcome to the show. This week's Failrace versus the community was C-Class Toyota MR2s. Our first race went to the Iberian circuit, a track that I very much like, and seeing as we were driving a bit slower cars than normal, I thought we could get away with racing around here. Unfortunately, things would go wrong further back with a big pile-up that would see 5 or 6 cars pointing the wrong way and off the track, and unfortunately I was caught right in the middle of it. At the front, people have got away a lot smoother, shall we say. The car that we're following goes around the outside almost of a purple vehicle, gets to the inside of the quadruple apex right-hander and gets the second position. Iberian can be a pretty tough place to overtake. There are not very many good overtaking opportunities, so you have to take them. Whenever they appear, you've got to get your overtake done. It's very easy to get caught up behind a car for multiple laps around this track because most of the corners there are tiny braking zone. Your best bet is into turn 1. The car we're following is trying to line up the green vehicle. He's going quite defensive into the first corner. Our car gets a little bit of a boost into turn 1. Turn 1's also a bit of a pain. It's very hard to see. If you're not used to this track, it goes uphill and it's very easy to miss your braking point as it is. The vehicle we're following can simply out-drag the green car down the next section and has got the lead. As I mentioned, I was caught up in the crashes, as was this red MR2, and we were working our way through the order. We were literally having to come from right at the back of the field. However, we both had very quick cars. Mine a bit better through the corners, the red MR2 a bit faster in a straight line. And despite the difficulties of overtaking, we were making short work of the field. It helps when the cars in front bump each other off, sort of parting of the waves going on there for this red MR2. I had a little bit more work to do. I had to go around the outside of somebody through the bomb hole bit, and then the white car goes a little bit wide. It certainly helps when vehicles make a mistake with the overtaking around this track. Yeah, that's certainly helpful. At the front, there was a battle for the lead after the first few laps. The order had sort of sorted itself out a little bit, and the orange car was shaping up for a pass and was going for the very spectacular around the outside of the quadruple apex corner, gets to the inside for the final turn and gets the position. That is very hard to do, to keep your car around the outside of that corner when you're in pretty equal cars. That's a tough maneuver to do. So that one gets the overtake of the evening. As I mentioned, I was busy trying to fight my way back up through the order, and I got myself caught up behind this white MR2. The problem with Iberian is that if you do not have the straight line speed, your best overtaking spot, turn 1, is pretty much unavailable. I had a quicker car around this track. I'm pretty sure at one or a couple of points actually I may have just simply bumped the back of the MR2 in front. I could carry so much more corner speed. I was under quite a lot of pressure from the car behind as well, because I was much better through the corners. It's so much more grip. However, I didn't have the straight line speed. I just couldn't do it. As we exit the final corner, everybody's trying to get underneath the car in front. I managed to sort of pull up alongside the white MR2. The yellow car, I'm not sure how much damage who had, and so some vehicles were struggling with a bit more of a straight line speed because of damage or the way that they built their cars. I just couldn't quite out-drag the white MR2. Eventually though, on this lap, as he got slightly out of shape through turn 1, I could get my car up the inside and gain the place. The yellow car then got a very good drive through the first corner. He's on the inside as well. As we saw with the white car, yes, it has the speed, not quite the grip of the rest of us, and when you're out wide over there, that's a long way to come back, and he loses 2 positions in about 3 corners. I continued my charge through the field, as did the red MR2. Things got very scary. The car that was in third, I believe, put a wheel on the dirt, spun across the track, and I had to avoid while going side by side with somebody else, and then it was my turn to try around the outside manoeuvre. That was a scary moment. Going around that corner to find a car spun out in front of us. Amazingly, we both managed to react in time. We carried on racing, both managed to react and dodge in time. For that, nobody's fault, just somebody made a small mistake in front of us. It was quite a lot of close racing going on at Iberian. Often things don't turn out so well, especially after we had such a big opening lap crash with a lot of broken vehicles. Not majorly damaged, but there was certainly a lot of aero damage going on. And there was still quite a large group of vehicles hanging around for most of the race. Maybe not overtaking each other constantly, but yeah, there was plenty of groups of cars around. Anyway, at the front of the field, this orangey-yellow vehicle would take the victory, a fairly sizable margin, back to the red MR2, and I would end up in third. So we had an amazing comeback. I mean, we were setting pretty similar lap times to the leader. If things hadn't gone wrong at the start, could have been quite an interesting race. And as I said, there was plenty of close action going on further back. This is back to this group of cars we saw a minute ago, coming into the final corner on the final lap. The vehicle we're following is trying to get past, just can't quite make it work around the outside of the final corner. That's a very long way to go. I don't think I've ever seen somebody make it all the way around the outside. Cuts back to the inside on the exit, and then it's the battle of the straight line speed. Who has the better car for the straights? And sadly, it's not the vehicle that we are following. It's just out-dragged as they come across the start-finish line. Despite the crashes, there was an awful lot going on at Iberian, which was good to see. Our second race, we went to the Tsukuba race circuit. Turn 1 here can often be a bit chaotic. It's so wide, people try to fit 4 cars into it when it doesn't really work, and sure enough, today was no exception. It was a mess. I got spun round, there's somebody else spun round, pointing the wrong way, trying to recover. Yeah, there was a small tap from somebody, and it caused a big domino effect. And again, we had another pretty sizable first lap accident. It's not been the best couple of weeks for me in the versus the community, certainly not for the opening laps. I don't know, Scott, normally I'm alright. The last 2 have not been particularly good. Anyway, the vehicle we're following made his way through the pack, did a good job of avoiding trouble. He's trying to get past another car as they come up towards the hairpin at the top of the circuit. This is an easier track to overtake, much easier to get past around here than at Iberian. There are much bigger braking zones, much better corners for the overtaking. And our white and red car came from, I think, about 15th or 16th on the grid, made his way up to, I think it was around 4th or 5th on the opening lap. Certainly not a bad start as a Tron car gets quite wide on the final corner. He's trying to get past there. The final corner can be a little bit of a, when you're trying to do an overtake that late in the corner, you're never really going to do it. You're best off trying to go for turn 1. You can go around the outside or up the inside in this case. He tries his luck, leaves the door wide open, and that's the downside when you're racing so closely with everybody in here. When you go for an overtake on the car in front, you've got to be aware of vehicles behind. And in this case, the red and white car gets away with it. And this group carried on arguing for the opening few laps. I don't think I've seen a bigger group stay together for this lot. for I think it's 4 or 5 laps at least. These lot were just locked in battle in a huge train. Normally we see sort of 2 or 3 cars. Maybe you see 4. It's quite rare to see 4 vehicles in a line. This is a very big group of cars travelling. I'm trying to count on the fly here. 8, 9 cars almost in a group, and they're all swapping places come each corner. It's incredibly bloody hard to keep it. I was expecting this to all end in tears right about now. There was the occasional bit of bumping going on, as you will see, a few cars getting a little bit sideways. The advantage of having C-class cars like these, they're not massively fast, so you can get away with the odd bump here and there. You know, if you brush somebody in a corner, you're normally alright. You normally can just about get away with it, because nobody's ever going really that fast. As we come up towards the final corner, I have no idea what car that was lagging. I'm still not sure where it came from or where it went. Little bit weird, I'll be honest, on that one, but yeah, it's anybody's guess, false as being as reliable as ever. At the front, there was to be a change for the lead between a couple of the white MR2s. Goes to the inside on the hairpin. One of the best overtaking spots on this track. The car that was leading tried to do a cutback, can't really make it stick, doesn't have the straight line speed. Despite this being a very short track, just having that little bit more straight line speed is always nice around here. Just getting that little bit better drive down that back straight can really come in handy. and he promptly vanishes off. The car, the white and red car, was to make his way up into third and would be challenging for second towards the end of the race as they come up towards the hairpin. Does this look familiar to anybody? As we come around the hairpin, the other car tries unconventional tactics. I'll be honest, going very sideways and very wide. Again, nearly pays off. If we'd had better straight line speed, that would have paid off for defending second position. Got amazing launch out of that corner. Just doesn't quite have the straight line speed. And at the front, it would be this white. There's lots of white MR2s. Doing single mate races is a pain in the arse for the the commentary, but this vehicle would take the victory. I think I ended up somewhere around about 6th or something. I fought back a little bit. It was a little bit more of a chaotic race, that one. Again, quite a lot of broken vehicles. Our third and final race went to the Nurburgring GP circuit. This first corner often causes chaos, and I'm always a bit apprehensive about using this track. Amazingly, for the first time I think in the history of Versus the Community, 16 cars made it around turn 1, didn't quite make it into turn 2, but they made it around turn 1 without there being any crashes, which is very rare. Everybody got around the first quarter cleanly. I was astounded. I was right in the mix of things. For once I wasn't pointing backwards at turn 1 as we go 3 wide through a corner that you don't really want to be going too wide at the best of times. There's an orange MR2 doing a bit of rallycross and has an awful lot of straight line speed compared to the cars around him. I'm stuck with going the long way round. The orange MR2 gets himself in a little bit of trouble, and there is a stream of cars trying to get past on the inside. We're again going 3 wide, a little bit of pinballing going on there between everybody. It's a mental first lap. I'm now stuck on the outside. They're almost 3 wide in front of me. I have to do it the hard way and be quite brave around there. I have decent grip in my MR2. Maybe not quite the straight line speed of some vehicles, but I could carry an awful lot of the corner speed as we run down the back straight up towards the chicane that is quite a lot faster on here than it is on Forza 5. It's a tough place to overtake though. This is a very fast corner that's not very wide. Fitting 2 cars through there is pretty scary. In front of me they all got away with it. I got a much better exit. Got past one of them. I'm now trying to do the brave thing again around the outside of the final corner. Can't quite make that one stick. It's now 3 wide down the back straight. I mean, this track, it does, I wouldn't say relies massively on straight line speed, but you definitely want more of a straight line speed orientated car. You know, there's still certainly advantages to having that corner grip that I was finding over the course of the lap, but you do need a bit of straight line speed around this track as we come into turn 1. The inevitable happened at some point as people just didn't quite see that where the cars were there. It's the downside of having such a wide turning. There's such a wide entrance to that corner. It's very easy to get caught out with the car not quite being where you expect them to be. I managed to get up the inside of the white MR2 and had made my way up into 4th, having avoided a rather busy opening lap. The battles continued though, further back between a grey and a white MR2, and there was always somebody around ready to pick up the pieces. There wasn't, or in this early stage, there wasn't very many sort of 2 or 3 way battles. It was just, again, another fairly sizable group of cars, and which means that if you're in the middle of said group and you're trying to go for a pass, you've always got to be aware of the vehicle behind you that's quite close through one of the fastest corners on the track. You wouldn't want to take a touch particularly through that corner. We come up towards the chicane. The black and red car tries it, gets a bit brave and cuts the grass a little bit. Everybody gets out of the other side just about alive. I wasn't sure about that when recording the footage that everybody would make it out alive. Would have been a little bit close. They had a much thicker paint on the car. Probably would have been in the wall. It's a pretty risky place to try and overtake at that chicane. It's a very fast corner. Further back, I think this was over 12th place. This was the group of cars streaming down towards turn 1. Turn 1 is a very good overtaking place. You have a long straight followed by a very tight hairpin. So yeah, you certainly can be doing overtaking here, but you've got to be very careful on it. This time everybody had made it around turn 1 okay, and the car that we're following was very much a grip car. Could carry an awful lot of corner speed, but lacked the straight line speed to go with it. And around this track there are a fair few straights, and the group behind is still arguing. And of course, as they're all arguing, they're slowing each other down and letting this car now scamper away up towards the group in front. But you couldn't really get far before you found some sort of argument at the front, and the lead pair had vanished from the rest of it. They had just shot off up the road while we were all squabbling over the lower positions, if you like. These two had vanished off up the road from us, and well, it wasn't the most thrilling duel, and they weren't switching places constantly. They were, however, very close on the track for pretty much the entirety of this race, but there wasn't actually a huge amount of overtaking going on. Further back, and this white car was involved in all sorts of action throughout this race. Pretty much, I could have gone to his viewpoint and at every point in this race, and somebody was somewhere trying to overtake him, or he was trying to overtake somebody. In this case, the yellowy orangey MR2 was trying to find a way past, and without that little bit of straight line speed, it could be quite difficult. Again, this is another one of these tracks, you know, you definitely want the straight line speed for some of the overtakes, because your best spots, certainly around this track, come at the end of some very long straights. This is another thing. We're still going back to sort of 10th, 11th place, and there was still many a squabble going on. Further on in the race, it did spread out a little bit more. It did become a little bit more separated up. We didn't quite have the same huge groups. As we come into turn one, there was a big dive from the black MR2. Got the car stopped and almost got the move done. However, he didn't really have the handling around these corners. The white MR2 can just cut back to the inside through these next couple of corners, and it's a long way to go around the outside of this particular corner. If you have the grip, you will be on the inside for the next turn, and you could potentially keep the position. In this case, the black MR2 couldn't quite make the move stick. So certainly having a good handling car is advantageous at some point. I think overall, really, when it comes to Nurburgring, you want that little bit more straight line speed. These two carried on their battle for a good 3 or 4 laps, and as they did, you will see the cars in the background gradually getting closer and closer, trying to join in the fun. This time it's neck and neck down the back straights that come up towards a fairly scary corner going too wide through there. Luckily, as I said before, these are not the fastest cars in the world, so it's a little bit easier to get away with going too wide through there. Still fairly daunting prospect, a little bit of lag going on as they go through the chicane. The two cars behind are getting ever closer. Around the final corner, the white car just outbrakes himself. Doesn't take much, just a tiny slip of concentration. It missed your braking point by a little bit, and the orange car has got past. It's now very much a 3-car battle as we come down the start-finish straight. Everybody sitting in the slipstream down to turn one. The white car has got a much better run down this start-finish straight. The black and red car is quicker than the pair of them, and we go 3 wide into the first turn. That's what I'm talking about. It being so wide, it can actually be problematic because you can take so many different lines through the first corner. Still with 3 wide around the next corner. Everybody is just about fitting onto the track. We're going side by side again, little bit of bumping as these two cars end up very, very wide, but you get to the inside of the next corner. The orange car looking, giving a little bit of a nudge, reminding them that he is very much there up towards the next corner. The white car's on the inside, with the black and red car having to do the hard work, going a very long way around. A little bit of a slide going on. The orange car's trying to get to the inside. Black and red car's got a great drive out of that corner, somehow manages to keep the position up towards the next one. He can defend on the inside, but they're going to be fairly slow off the corner, having to take a little bit of a wonky line. The white car's trying to get the inside again through the next bit. There's a bit of a nudge from the yellowy orangey car. It's a bit busy down the back straight between these lots, and then even behind this group there's another car that was beginning to catch them. It was a fairly chaotic race for the mid-group. However, as we come into the chicane, there's a little bit of lag, and everybody amazingly gets out the other side just about okay. Well, unfortunately, yeah, lag can play a little bit of a part in this, and not very much that I can do about it. It wasn't too bad this week, though. At the front, the race for the lead would go on to the very final lap. It would be like this for pretty much the entirety of the race itself. As we come through the chicane, the grey car that had led for the whole, or pretty much the whole race, ran a little bit wide on the exit and was just a little bit slow off the chicane. Red car pounced into the final corner, and although the grey vehicle gets a better drive, he does not have the straight line speed, and the red MR2 is going to take the victory. I think I would end up in third place. It was a pretty busy race at Nurburgring. I have to say, probably one of the best races we've had at Nurburgring around here. There wasn't too many bumps into the first corner, into that hairpin. Yeah, lots of action. It was good fun with these MR2s, actually. They're not perhaps the ideal C-Class car, but since everybody's running sort of all fairly similar vehicles, it worked out really well. Despite the fact I spent a lot of time pointing backwards on opening laps, I still had quite a lot of fun. I managed to do a couple of good comeback races. So, yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed racing these vehicles. Anyway, that is it from the MR2s. The next Failrace versus the community shall take place on Thursday the 25th of September. We shall be back on Forza Motorsport 5 and we will be running Open A-Class, so you can use whatever you want in A-Class. However, I am going to say, as I normally do with these, that if you are one of the top drivers who are expected to do well, you've done well in the past, you've won races, etc., please do not use the leaderboard cars. It makes it much more interesting if you don't, and people can be creative with their car choice, and we seem to do fairly well at most points, getting a decent variety of vehicles. If you wish to sign up and take part in this, then you can go to our forums. There will be a link in the description. Find the Failrace versus the community section, and that is where you can sign up, and the races will be run at 7 PM British summertime. Anyway, that is it for today, so thank you very much for watching, and until next time, goodbye.